All right, let's talk about something I think a lot of us are feeling. It's this quiet but really powerful pressure. We're calling it the silent squeeze. We're going to break down why so many people in the middle class feel like they're completely stuck. I mean, seriously, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, right? You work hard, you play by the rules, but that finish line, that feeling of actually getting ahead, it just always seems to be just out of reach. It's an incredibly common frustration, and I promise you, it is not just in your head. You know, it's this sort of widespread, quiet anxiety. This feeling that the ground underneath our feet just isn't as solid as it used to be. It's not like some big, loud crisis. It's more of a constant, low-level hum of financial strain that's, well, it's just hard to put your finger on.
And this right here, this is the central puzzle. We are, by almost every measure, more educated and more productive than any generation that came before us. We have all this amazing technology. So why doesn't that add up to more security? It honestly feels like we're just running faster and faster on a treadmill that's stuck in the same place.
Okay, let's get this out of the way right now because it's the most important point of this whole thing. If you're feeling this squeeze, it is not a reflection of your effort. It's not about your choices. The game itself has changed. The rules have been rewritten, but a lot of us are still trying to play by that old playbook.
So, to really get what's different now, we have to take a quick look back. Back at the promise the middle class was built on. A pretty simple promise, really. It was all about stability.
This was the blueprint. See, the middle-class dream wasn't about being rich. It was about predictability. The idea was that one decent, full-time job could reliably cover all these cornerstones of a stable life. You didn't have to be some kind of financial wizard. The system had buffers built in. It could absorb a mistake or two. That was the whole point.
Now here's where things get a little tricky, and this slide really clears it up. We hear all the time, hey, wages are higher than ever. And if you just look at the dollar amount on your paycheck, the nominal wage, that's technically true. The numbers have gone up. But the number that really matters is over on the right, your real buying power. Because even if you're earning more dollars, those dollars just don't go as far.
And that brings us to this key concept, real income decline. It's that gut-wrenching feeling of having more money in your bank account, but somehow being able to afford less. When the price of everything, rent, food, gas, goes up faster than your paycheck does, you are effectively getting poorer. It's as simple as that.
So what's behind this shrinking buying power? Well, it really boils down to three huge pressures that have just completely reshaped the economy for the middle class. Let's break them down one by one.
First up, and this one is a heavyweight, housing. What used to be the foundation of a stable life has turned into a major source of financial stress for millions.
You see, the whole point of housing kind of flipped. It went from being about shelter and community to being about speculation, a financial asset, like stocks. And once that happened, home prices totally disconnected from what people's local paychecks could actually support. For so many, owning a home became a fantasy, and renting turned into this permanent state of being, turning that anchor of stability into just another huge, draining monthly bill.
Okay, the second big pressure point is debt. Because when paychecks couldn't keep up with rising costs, something had to fill that gap. And for a lot of people, that something was credit.
And this is how the trap works. It's a slow process. First, your wages just kind of stall out. Then you start using debt, credit cards, loans to keep things afloat, to maintain your standard of living. And at first, it feels like a solution, right? But over time, those interest payments become like a second tax on everything you earn. It's a constant drain that doesn't care if you had a bad month or an unexpected expense.
And the final piece of this puzzle, the third big pressure, is something we all feel every single day. The very nature of work, of our jobs and careers, has totally changed.
What we've seen is this huge shift in who carries the financial risk. Back then, it was a trade. You give a company your loyalty, and they give you stability, pensions, healthcare, a career for life. But now, the deal is different. It's flexibility in exchange for instability. Pensions are basically gone, benefits have shrunk, and nobody has a career anymore. You have a series of gigs. All that financial risk that companies used to handle, yeah, that's been shifted right onto your shoulders.
So we've got pressure from housing, pressure from debt, pressure from jobs. But wait a minute, we're all working harder and smarter. We're more productive. So where did all that extra value we created, where did it go? This is where we got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
This chart tells a really stark story. Look at that first bar, worker productivity. It has absolutely skyrocketed. We're creating way more value per hour than ever before. But now, look at the second bar, worker security. It's gone in the complete opposite direction. The rewards from all that productivity just haven't trickled down. Instead, the gains flowed up, while the risks flow down.
And this chart, it perfectly shows why they call it the squeeze zone. The middle class gets hit from every angle. You're completely dependent on a paycheck, so you feel wage stagnation the most. You're totally exposed to inflation on things you have to buy, like food and gas. And you're just visible enough in the tax system that you can't use all the fancy loopholes. It's a tough spot.
But look, once you understand all this, it leads to a really powerful shift in how you see things. It lets you move away from blaming yourself and toward just having some clarity.
And if you remember one thing, please let it be this. That feeling of being stuck isn't about you not trying hard enough. It's about being forced to play a brand new game, but you were handed the instruction manual for the old one. The old rules for getting ahead just don't work the same way anymore.
So, here's the bottom line. In today's world, awareness is the new security. Just seeing the system for what it is, understanding these pressures from housing, debt, and jobs, it doesn't magically make the problems disappear, but it is the absolute first step to making smarter decisions in the world we actually live in, not the one we were told about.
And I'll just leave you with this to think about. Now that you can see the mechanics of this squeeze, the actual structure behind that feeling, what feels different to you? Because a lot of times, just replacing that feeling of confusion with a little bit of clarity, well, that's a pretty powerful change all on its own.